members. First off, my name is Maria Gronas. I work here at Q&A, and thank you so much for joining us for the panel. So we're going to be doing this every Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. PST. And for those of you who are first timers in the chat, how this got started was simply an idea that we wanted to build community during this unique time in our history, in our country, and our globe for that matter. And as a result, like, we've been really humbled by over 10,000 people tuning into the panel, the wonderful messages and the community on Slack that we've created. And we just couldn't have done it without the panelists that are here today and the panelists that have been before and the community that's developed for each of you guys watching. So thank you. So for today, as usual, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. It's going to be at the bottom of your screen to the right. If you have, you're going to see polls throughout the conversation of just like how you found us, topics you're interested in learning more about as we move forward with this. And there'll be a variety of other things popping up in the chat itself. So feel free to look into the chat area. Also too, are posting our audience rules right now. Please keep the chat full of positivity and love, and just building community continuously. But nevertheless, I'm going to throw it over to Jay, Troy, and Suzy.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. I'll jump in. First of all, thanks everyone for joining us. We've been doing this panel for a few weeks now, and as Maria said, you know, the idea was to pull, you know, the community together. And I think we started with the music community and kind of our core folks friends and family that we deal with on a day-to-day. And as we expanded this, we wanted to kind of touch on different aspects of the culture and talk to people that, you know, are like-minded and have, you know, similar goals, aspirations, and you know, one of the big takeaways from this with us is creating dialogue throughout our community that we can maintain once this pandemic is over, and understanding the value that we have when we work together, we stick together, we communicate with one another, and we're sharing information with one another. And as we expand outside of music, we've tapped into people that are kind of tastemakers in their respective worlds. And when we started talking about film and TV, I automatically reached out to my friend Arande, who, you know, I put to work very quickly, and he helped pull together this group. And you know, we never want to misrepresent the message or speak on something that isn't, you know, ours to speak on firsthand. So, you know, as we did other topics, we wanted to have people kind of lead in that world, kind of lead the conversations. And Notori has been gracious enough to accept the responsibility of leading this film and TV conversation. And, you know, she's someone that, you know, I think me and most of my friends had crushes on back in the day with 3LW, but it certainly kind of transitioned into, you know, a real kind of, you know, when I think about, like, you know, how I was raised and, you know, what I set out to do in terms of being in entertainment and being able to ultimately continue to keep my head above water and just to survive and be in it, you know, and, you know, Notori's been operated on the highest level in music with, you know, platinum records, and, you know, and also, you know, one of the premier actresses, and you know, with Power and all of the other kind of wonderful things that she's doing, but is also finding time, you know, between all of that success and raising a 2-year-old daughter, you know, to feed families in Brooklyn right now. And, you know, so I have so much respect for what you're doing, and felt like you could be, you know, an amazing person to lead this conversation. And, you know, and wanted to kind of pass it over to you. We'll be here to support and kind of chime in. And, you know, this traditionally has become a very open and fluid conversation. So folks have kind of jumped in and asked questions, and, you know, it lacks, you know, a whole lot of structure and, you know, being too formal, because this is just a conversation amongst friends and peers and family. So Notori, I'll turn it over to you.
Ooh. Well, thank you, Jay. That was like Such an amazing intro. I'm nervous now. Child, Lord Jesus. And can we discuss why you don't still have a crush? Like, why was it back in the day crush? Why isn't it a present? No,
My daughter's here, so I gotta tread lightly.
No, I'm just teasing.
Both of my daughters are my new crushes.
Oh, yeah, I feel you. I have one. You said you have a 16 and a 17-year-old?
Yeah, 16 and 17.
Ooh, God bless you. So I'm excited to talk to you guys. This is some of you are my friends, like Terrence J, Lod, people I know and admire. This is going to be fun. I wanted to just basically check in first with you guys and figure out, how have you been managing working, not working, being at home? I know it's a lot of family time. How is that happening, and how is it affecting, I guess, your psyche and mental health during the quarantine? Like, what does that feel like? I mean, because we're used to being out and on the go constantly. So how do you adjust? Whoever wants to jump in.
I'll go first. I mean, first of all, I appreciate that. This is very humbling for me. Me being 15 years in the NBA, transitioning to this side. I'm a huge fan of your guys' work as far as acting, actresses, and the shows you guys have produced. I recently space, and it's just been amazing. So I'll start with that. But for me, I traveled so much in my NBA career that I actually retired early to spend more time with my kids. So now, unfortunately, in my post career, I've been successful in the media and starting to produce and create TV shows as well. So that has me flying all around the country constantly. So I really haven't had a break. So unfortunately, through this pandemic and crisis, I've been able to just kind of sit my ass down for once and just spend time with my twins. And I have a 16-month-old son too. So just really, daddy full time. And I got so much expertise with these online classes are no joke. Not alone. Just getting them to do the work, but the second you walk away, my twins are fighting or dribbling a basketball. I'm like, I know that has nothing to do with class right now, so I'm on them constantly. So just the ability to kind of sit back, get off the hamster wheel a little bit. Like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. I think all of us can speak to it. We're kind of just always on our go in our own bubble. So this situation has allowed us to kind of sit back, unwind, recalibrate, reformulate, plan, and then look forward to everything past COVID-19. So I've actually enjoyed the time down, like I said, and really allowed me to spend time with my kids and kind of just refocus.
Good. I mean, that's super. And I know we were talking last week, to your point, Matt, having a child who's in school and doing online schooling, Lala, for you and Cayenne and your family, how has that been? Like, it's a lot of work, like Matt was saying.
I would say that's been difficult. And I think, as parents, sometimes we forget to check in with our kids and how they're feeling, and forget to understand that our kids are going through transitions now during this time and have their own feelings. Imagine now they're living in a world where when they do look outside or go outside, people have masks and gloves on, and this is just the new norm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm reminding myself to check in with Cayenne as a 13-year-old just about his own feelings, instead of just sticking him in front of the TV and saying, why are you not doing your work? Why are you not paying attention? I mean, that's a big transition from going to a class every day to now just sitting in front of a computer and just like that, trying to have him adapt to that. So I've been sensitive to that, and I've had to catch myself a couple of times and just being a bit more patient and understanding to what the kids are going through during this time, because that's not easy. And for me, just to kind of touch on what Matt said, it's been very similar. Like, we go so much that just to stop has been helpful for me in many ways, because I don't get to do that. It's just, I don't ever get to just stop and take in everything that's going on. It's just one show, one work after another. So it's been really great to stop. And I found myself being actually the most creative during this time and really coming up with great ideas, whether it's on the producing side, on the acting side, because I finally had the time to just stop and flesh out a lot of ideas that I had that I just didn't have the time to do before. So I would just encourage everyone, once you come out of that kind of just feeling down, I can't believe this is what's happening, and you tap into that creative side of yourself and really just think about things that you might not have had the time to think about, a lot of great things can come out of that. And I read an article recently that just talked about how many new entrepreneurs and millionaires are going to come out of this quarantine because people are using this time to get creative and come up with great ideas. So I just encourage everyone to continue to do that, because there's going to be some groundbreaking ideas that come out of people who got creative during this quarantine.
I agree. No, and I'm inspired even with your show, Reclaim Your Life. I mean, the whole thing is to use this time as motivation. Speaking of creative, can I just say I'm a huge fan of Kenya Bears. Hey, can we speak to your amazing creativity, your show, of course, the new show, Black as Fuck. But what exactly has that done for you, being able to talk about different things in your interviews lately, you know, some of the backlash and issues within our community, you know, because you've created Blackish, Mixedish, Grownish, and now Black as Fuck. I want to hear, like, what is that like do you feel like people are sitting at home just like, you know, trolling and criticizing because they just have a lot of time on their hands? Or do you think some of the issues with colorism have just been always a part of, you know, and which has come, I guess, to your attention with the show?
I think yes is I think I really have been happy to get the show at least dropped.
Yeah, it's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was an interesting time just going on. The big thing with Netflix is usually when they drop a show, it drops 16 different languages, and you have to actually go cast 16 different casts or whatever to get it. Like this this show did not drop. It only dropped in one language, and I was like, "This is how they fuck the black man."
See how they do us.
It's about numbers, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, we're not going to have the numbers because that's what, you know what I'm saying? Netflix doesn't go, you know, with, there's no ratings. It's just literally, but we just got our numbers. We were really well received and it was really well watched. And that was without, you know, being in any other language. So I think that really speaks to our community, that like we show up for shit. And even if they don't, you know, even if, you know, a lot of people were like, I don't like it, a lot of people do. I think that conversation getting started right now made the show actually bigger than it would have been somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I think the divisive nature of it actually made it bigger. You know, so it was interesting. I think that it was, you know, the stuff with colorism bothered me. And I wanted to, this was my first time actually ever acting. I wasn't even acting, I just did this, but it was the first time actually being in front of the camera. And I don't know how.
Yeah, how was that? How did that feel going from behind the camera to in front of it?
I don't know how you guys do that. I don't know how the public is. I just saw Matt say an apology to his, and I was like, just literally the idea that everything you do, people are, that is a part of life I have not been a part of and don't want a part of. You know what I'm saying? I would never do it again other than maybe to do this show again. But, you know, the colorism thing really bothered me because my kids go all spectrums, you know what I'm saying? From chocolate brown to, you know, super light. And I feel like I cast this show based on my kids, you know, and their mom. And I feel like I really wanted to respond when people are saying this isn't a real black family, you know, because this was actually talking about my kids. And I feel like, you know, the idea of like people not realizing, you know, there was a great actress who I loved to death, Ryan Destiny. She came in and she was amazing. But Rashida and I looked at each other and we were like, we can't make her, you know, and if I had put her on the show, people would have criticized me for that. They'd have been like, is that from an ex? Why are you just doing this? So the notion behind, we cast Tika Sumpter, who I love, and Mixedish to play Tracy Ellis Ross' mom. And the real actress who played her mom later in life, Anna Devere Smith, is a lighter skinned woman, but we felt like if we put someone who was lighter skinned in that role to talk about being mixed, it wouldn't register. So we were like, we loved Tika. Tika was an amazing actress, but we also loved that she really represented, you know, a black woman and we got shit for that because they were like, she doesn't, so it's like literally in some aspects, like, look, you can't win. But I feel like it's all about, I take it in stride because I do think there's so few of us doing what we do that as much shit as I want to talk, and I'm like, you know, I understand that there's so few versions of black people being able to talk about our stories that we do sort of have a little bit different responsibility. And so yeah, I think we represent more of what people want to see as their stories. So I understand it. I mean, I don't think that was accurate, but I understand where they were coming from.
I like to something to that, if you don't mind. I think it's interesting.
Sure.
Is what your show is doing is it's bringing that uncomfortable conversation that needs to be had. You know, myself being Italian and black, I found out a long time ago that I'm looked at as a black man. So it's hard to say, like, I'm proud to be mixed because I'm not looked at as mixed. Like, Obama's mixed, but he's the first Black president. You know what I mean? So for someone being mixed, it's just like, damn, who do you run to? You're not white enough. You're not Black enough. I got this kind of good hair, so you must be Puerto Rican. So it's just kind of really awkward to kind of find your footing as someone who is mixed. So it's the uncomfortable conversations that your show is creating in a positive manner, even though it may be some negative backlash, some positive backlash. It's uncomfortable conversation that needs to be had because these are real issues that are going on within our community.
Matt,
Rondé,
Troy be
feeling
making
that
fun
light
of me.
skin is winning these days, Rondé. Light skinned niggas will have Idris on this chat to protect you right now. You're surrounded by me and Matt and Kenya, all this light skinned
We're outnumbered right
y'all
now.
trying to
Don't
take
ever
over.
say nothing.
Detroit James has never been a problem, man. We've always held our own. You guys deserve one. If you want to use Kenya, well played. Well,
me and La are representing the Afro Latinos on this.
Yes.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm just happy we're all winning, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's how I feel. At the end of the day, these shows and all the cultures, we are all of those. Why do we have to always isolate one, and like, oh, that's what makes Black culture or Afro Latinas? If you think about it, we should treat it like a really big family, because that's what we are, and create from each perspective. And I think that, Ken, you've done a great job, and all of you guys have done that. Speaking of working and actors, I just want to ask the managers and the agents. I see Yasmin Pearl, my best friend and agent. Hey, girl. And Aronde, and all of you guys, who are in the, behind the scenes. Do you feel like talent right now, and even, producers like Terrence, you're getting into the producing work. How do you guys feel about like people kind of pressing on what's happening with work? Do you feel like a lot of people are getting a little antsy and nervous, backing out of decisions? Do you feel like people are willing to take risk more or less into like right now? And particularly with talent, like how do you feel about that?
I'll jump in. I'm Yasmin. I'm a talent agent at WME. I'll just go back to your first question just about being in the quarantine. And I think any representative or producer on this phone could probably agree. When you're a representative, you're used to staying 5 steps ahead of your client, 5 steps ahead of questions, 5 steps of fires, being prepared to build things, put out things, and create things. And during this quarantine, obviously it's a little difficult because it came to a halt and we weren't prepared for it. So that's frustrating first as an agent. And I'm pretty sure Aronde, as a manager, it has to be frustrating because your client has questions. And I think too, as a representative, you forget how to take care of yourself. Like you're always taking for a living, you take care of people. And when you love what you do, it's hard to take a step back. So during this quarantine, we're trying to kind of self-help, self-love, to work out, meditate, things like that, which has been always slightly challenging because that hasn't always been the go-to thing. It's always been taking care of other people. So that's like the first thing that's challenging during this quarantine, but it's also been so helpful because back to your point, Matt, it's just getting back to the basics and the roots of what makes us special. And La's perspective of like, it brings me back to my creative purpose and what driven me to this career in the first place. And so like during this quarantine, like the silver lining for me is getting back to the roots of why we love what we do, which has been very, very helpful, and being able to brainstorm different ideas and just quiet out the noise. Because I think in a business, and you pray for success, what comes with success is a lot of noise, but no one tells you how to quiet that noise. And so that's been very good. And that's what I've been learning during this quarantine. And then I would say, as far as clients, I think clients have been, to be completely honest, awesome. Like more clients have called to check on me just to make sure I'm okay. Like they understand. And again, if you're a representative and you love what you do, you're going to keep looking for avenues. So now we're exploring digital. Like how do we get more advanced in digital and we get to be more creative? I think a 15-minute conversation with a client now has gone to an hour conversation. And we're talking about what do they really love outside of film and television? Like, do you love cooking? Do you love working out? How do we now not only feed your audience something that's going to help them, but also feed your soul? So like clients, I can't explain during this time. I think creatively as an agent as a whole, we're looking for new avenues because this quarantine, and James, you could probably speak to it of ways, because this quarantine, when it's over, it's not over. Like then we have to go into a new phase of, are we going to be shooting $150 million movie? That's not going to happen, right? Like So now we have to get more creative. Like, what stories can we create with a limited cast, a limited locations, and let's get creative in that avenue, because what we have learned is streamers are ready to buy, right? Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, people are consuming content left and right. And so there's definitely a market there. Now we just have to get creative about how to tap into it, if that answers the question.
Yeah, there's going to be, we've been having a lot of high level discussions at the studio level, line producer level, just trying to figure out, at the unions, figuring out how, when we come out of this, how do we create, how do we produce?
Yeah.
And how do we do it safely? Obviously, it's going to have to be about the tests, contact tracing, do you quarantine cast and crew? Is that feasible? Looking at projects that we're developing right now, where we were going to go into pre-production this summer, and we still might go. Well, we have to look at the scripts now and kind of have a different approach to how we're going to shoot these things. Do we have large crowd scenes? Are we going to have to increase the budget in visual effects? And are we going to have to panel in crowds? Because we can't have a bunch of extras around us.
Are there going to be theatrical movies, you think?
No, I think theaters are going to come back. It's just going to take a long time. And habits are being formed now. And what's happening now is an acceleration. What was eventually going to happen is that the windows are going to shorten. I don't think theaters are going away, but not every film now that's being produced is going to be meant for the box office.
But quick question, so just kind of looking at Universal with Trolls, and they made $100 million on premium VOD. What's the incentive at that point, like with theaters, for producers and studios at that point?
You have to really look at those. And I'm not in the room on that particular movie, but you have to really look at why that movie did $100 million the first weekend. It was the P&A behind that, the marketing and promotion behind that was treated like a theatrical film because it was meant to go in theaters, right? Mm-hmm. So when a film is meant to go straight to PVOD, you're not going to see billboards. You're not going to see commercials. You're not going to see that behemoth promoting and marketing the film in that same manner.
Do you think this may change that model though? So if they see demand on that end, they may spend more on the P&A to help get it there?
I think what would happen is if, for example, take Netflix, right? When Netflix is releasing a show or a film and they really believe in a film, you start seeing that film promoted maybe 4 to 6 weeks prior to it dropping. That's it. Theatrical releases are promoted 5 to 6 months, sometimes 8 months in advance. So I think what you'll start to see is if you start seeing movies that are going straight to streaming, you're going to see the marketing window shrink as well. The spend won't be as far along ahead, which lowers your marketing costs in promoting that film. So I think the whole ecosystem will change when films start going directly to PVOD and VOD and streaming platforms. But I don't think theatrical is going away completely. There's certain films you want to experience in the theater. You want to go see Star Wars. You want to go see Fat in a theater. I don't want to see it on the screen.
I don't want nobody to sit next to you.
Yes,
exactly. So the theater chains are going to have
just space out.
The theater chains are going to have to. The exhibitors are going to have to recalibrate the way they do business, which is also going to affect the economic model. Less seats in theaters means less box office.
Do you see a day where Netflix and Disney and places like that just buy these theater chains on the cheap?
We already started. Netflix just bought out one of the theater chains because they want to be able to put them in 5K. And I think there was I think I heard that they might try to buy AMC. You need someone who has deep enough pockets because to James's box offices, which make $70, $80 million movies, you're putting that investment because you want a box office. Box offices are about packing people in big theaters sitting close to one another. So unless you're going to start charging $100, $150 a ticket and making it dinner seats, which you still won't be able, the average person can't afford that. The idea that Trolls, I think was 25% of the P&A budget of what they would have spent. So even though it was still healthy, it looked healthy, it wasn't what they normally would have spent. And the big difference between PVOD and going to theaters, you got to split that 50-50 with theater owners. PVOD, they only have to pay 20%.
It was an 80-20 split.
It's 80-20. So it's the theater, the studio for them, they already were 30% higher before they even get anything. Then they spent less, even though it still had a healthy marketing thing, they spent less on marketing than they have to. And now they literally, I just was talking to a friend that I love, Nigel, Warner Brothers, they're putting out the Scooby movie, I think, or they're putting out like
yes, it's going to streaming.
Yeah, that movie is going to go straight to VOD, and they're going to offer it to buy. It's just the things that can happen, for the studios. I definitely feel like it's going to affect movies. I hope our kids don't grow up in a world where they don't get to see the movie going experience.
Yeah.
Now they've lost libraries. I hope that's not another thing that we sort of have, that technology has sort of shrunken and they don't get to have that experience. Because I'm like you, I want to go to the movies and see Star Wars.
Well, I used to love the record store, right? And
yeah, me too, bro. Go buy the CD, read the back of it, and see. I used to see who the credits.
I know where you're going, Troy. It's not the same analogy, though. I know where you're going.
But
not the same.
I say that to say, hold on. I say that to say, it's like the experience for where technology can end up taking you may end up being a much richer experience. So what you may be able to do with augmented reality, VR, like new technologies that haven't been invented yet, may end up being even a better experience than the actual movie theater itself.
You're right, but
go ahead, James. Tell him, James.
Here's a better analogy for you. I love going. If I can go to a concert 4 times a week, I would. I love going to concerts. I'm not going to a concert in the next year. I'm just not, unless there's a vaccine. I'm not doing it. Yeah. So what happens to the live experience of music?
It goes to what Troy is saying.
It's gone unless you are literally watching your favorite band on your computer or on your laptop or at home. It's not the same for me. I have to be in the club. I love watching bands play live. That's gonna kill me until that comes back.
But I just saw something that said to Troy's point that they're now trying to already fast track, which are already think your digital sound systems. Remember, everybody started getting the sound bar and
surround sound.
Surround shit.
Not the same, man. Not for me. I'm saying just for me personally.
I'm with you.
In the arena with the
app. We're not going to be able to be. So are they going to make an experience that makes us feel like we're there?
I think
it will be better than being there, Kenya. In the future, it will. Yeah, it'll be better.
So can I jump in?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just want
to. If you know something, you have to tell us. You have to let us get rich too.
Yes, Troy. Don't hold that secret.
So Troy, Kenya, and James, I just want to ask you guys this question because you guys are talking about this. So what is your advice to creatives right now? Is it go more guerrilla style, put the camera up in your kitchen and do YouTube series? Let's just talk to the creatives out there who aren't dealing on this mass level, who just want to figure out how can I get my content out there during the quarantine, or what's the best route that I take? I would love to hear from you guys on what your advice is for creatives on the ground level who are trying to get things going.
So we saw this. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ronnie.
On that, because Lyle, that's an interesting point that you came up with, because unfortunately, just everyone that represents talent on this panel we have right now, it's breaking my heart because I'm getting a lot of people that's finding me directly or just reaching out to people that know me. And, from everyone that lives in New York and LA, their daytime work is auditioning. And they would do side jobs as like, being a waiter, being a busboy, being a hostess somewhere so they could audition all day. And they don't have that opportunity anymore. So they hit me as far as like, hey, Ronnie, can you reach out to Yasmin, or can you reach out to Lala or James, or can they see my reel? Let me know I can't work. Let me know what you're thinking. So I've been forcing my talent to kind of think outside the box, because, and most of us, everybody on the panel somewhat represents talent. Like, on management or talent representation, you're amazing when everything goes great, and they hate you when everything goes bad. So now this time alone has been really putting the pressure on them to kind of come up with stuff that's creative and what can we push that you want to do? Who are the people that you want to talk to? Because everyone's home, let's put the ball in your court. You know, Idris and myself, we kind of came up with this idea that we're tweaking, but this weekend we might, you know, really push it out there that we want to do something called quarantine casting, right? So what we want to do is that everyone who's been hitting us or wants to get a try, you know, you'll get your 30 seconds with Idris to actually do a monologue. They'll tell you what's wrong with it. If you like it, to go from there. Then we'll do a kids division and let Marseille Martin, who's killing the game as a 15-year-old, and she's just a blessing in disguise. We'll let her judge the kids division. And then we'll have Lala next week judge the women's division. And then we'll have Kenya judge the comedy division. This way, somebody will give their chance. There's going to be one or two things that's going to happen. It's going to be amazing and terrible at the same time, because we're going to find some terrible talent that shouldn't be doing it at all, but we're going to find a diamond in the rough. And I think it's just that outside of the box thinking, because James, you know, Kenya, you know, the day in the life, and Tori too, the day in the life of you going to a casting audition and seeing someone and sitting in front of a Tasha Smith or sitting in front of a Robbie Reed or whoever you want to talk about, they don't even want you close to them. So we're just kind of really reinventing what that audition looks like for the creatives and coming from there. And then when we find something, giving that person or those people the opportunity to kind of present that to the world. But I feel like the creators got to give, I feel like the people that's made it got to give back to the creators that's trying to do it, and we figure out how to work together.
I agree. That's why I'm asking.
I love that.
Well, I need you guys all to be judges. Every one of you got to be judges.
Done.
No, I think this is a beautiful.
He got his plug in around his like. So when I call you to be a judge, you better answer. Done. No, I love that idea.
I think this is a.
Terrence, you want to say something?
We have a musical that we're gonna try to mount as a production in the fall, and it's gonna be largely discovery in terms of cast, because the kids got to be from 16 to like 20, and they all got to sing, act, and dance. And so we're about to put a casting director on. It's all going to be done through self-tape because we're not seeing anybody in person. So exactly what you're talking about is what we're about to do. We're going to cast this movie based on
that's amazing.
I would tell writers on the writing side and producers, you know, look to people, like there has to be more of a combination, like look to people like Troy, look to people, you know, like Yaz, like look to people, because there has to be sort of, we have to start merging the technology side with the production side. It has to, because we're at that place right now. And that's where, you know, a lot of the stuff Favreau did with, you know, The Mandalorian and things like that, like being able to make sets smaller, but create virtual backgrounds and virtual things where you don't have to have a lot of people. I think that's going to be a thing. I think young writers, I'm telling them when I'm reading stuff now, like handshakes are gone. Don't write handshakes in your script anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live in a, you know, handshakes probably should have left a while ago anyway, because, you know, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy. But, you know, now when I'm looking.
Yeah, I just learned the history. Sorry to cut you off, Kenya. The history of handshakes back in the day. It's like, says you're going to draw your gun, but it means that you're not going to if you shake, right? That was so interesting. I just learned that. That's such an interesting historical fact. And
the notion that we now are, you know, when you look at TV now and I see people handshaking, it's like, like just that quickly. It's in my head. So thinking ahead of like
the moment, Kenya, the moment I see you, I'm gonna handshake you, and Tori, the moment I see you, I'm hugging you. Either way.
Oh yeah.
Listen, man, I've been looking at a lot of these comments, and all these creators out there that are asking. I think this is a beautiful time. I think when the country goes through adversity, when the world goes through adversity, that's when brilliant ideas are formed, and that's when, like I think J Erving said earlier, that's when people become, you know, super rich. That's when the Henry Fords and the Albert Einsteins and these brilliant ideas. And now we have the technology to tap in. And if you're at home, you now have the outlets and the technology to do incredible things. I saw somebody's comment and said, King Batch is going to be the next Michael B. Jordan. And I don't even think that's a joke. These young creators out there are tapping in. They're using their phones. They're using technology that's at their disposal. They're on Amazon ordering things. And now the lines between you know, these $100 million productions and doing something in your own backyard are becoming tighter and tighter. And now that we see that you can watch, you know, Trevor Noah do late night, or you can watch, you know, high quality television shows and still enjoy the content from your phone. I just did a BET telethon last week from my basement, right? And I'm like, wow, I had to set up all the audio equipment myself, set up all the lighting myself. And then I realized I can do so much by myself, right? And so that's not about taking jobs away from other people, but I think that coming out of this, we have time. And there's an amazing opportunity for all of us to come out of this better than we were before. There's time to sit down and watch Blackish, study Kenya, see what's going on, you know, go through James Lopez's library. Matt Barnes is sending his scripts. Like this is an amazing time for all of us to tap in and reach that next level of genius, and also realize that we can communicate like we haven't. I've been able to talk to Aronde and Lala and spend more time on the phone than I ever had before. So for all the young creators that are on right now, make sure you take this time.
You don't call him. It's so true. You think people will start transitioning into other maybe passions that they never even thought? I mean, even for you, Terrence, or Matt, I know, Matt, you started your own podcast, All the Smoke. I feel like, do you think this, which is super dope. For me, I come from, you know, I started in music, transitioned into acting, getting back to music, and Matt from being in sports for 14 years and now doing this. Do you think more people are being pushed into their purpose, maybe, or even push into what they really find about, like to Lala's point, and even Yasmin mentioned earlier, people are starting to really think about what they really love to do. They actually want to do a podcast, or they want to write, and they've written before. Maybe they're going to start doing things that they never thought that they had the capacity to do.
I think creativity in this space is going to win, whether it's how you creatively keep your kids entertained or how you creatively get yourself out there. I'm a part of this app that'll be coming out hopefully by the end of the year, called Ad Hoc. And basically what it is touching your point, Terrence J. It's us getting brands to buy into our concept, but then we're putting the power into our fans, into the regular person, because you can film anything from these new goddamn iPhones. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's everyday people shooting. Say Nike has an ad, and they give you exactly what they require and what they look for. You go out there and shoot it the best you can, and then you send it to whoever. And if they pick you, you run that ad, and that's just that's no casting. That's no, hey, this is just out for everyone. Whoever wants to try to do it can do it. So I think that's
who started that, Matt?
A group out of Toronto. So I did some other stuff with them too. They brought me this just recently, but that's where it's going. Like I said, I just think the most creative way you can be. You know, creativity is the key, and no matter what facet. And I think the fact that it's taken something like this for us to kind of, like I said, sit down, get off the hamster wheel, because I think, you know, death is real. You know what I mean? So let's not.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Kobe a couple months ago. Rest in peace to my brother. Like, none of this shit is promised. So I think something like this on top of that makes you think like, okay, what do I really like? I think I got another 50 years left. I might not have it until next week left. So motherfuckers are really thinking like, okay, what do I really want to do? What am I passionate about? Maybe let's try a new lane. Let's try this. Let's try that. Because people are kind of realizing that, okay, like life is really precious right now. And
precious. Right.
You know,
I'm going to jump in and really say what the Matt Barnes I know. Everybody listening, the back is against the wall. It's nothing happening right now. Everything is at a dead stop. So whatever you can do to think outside the box and create something, you have to do it. There's nothing moving. I don't want to scare anybody. Banks are closed. Like everything is like at a point where you got to really think outside the box and, you know, become that select few that can make it through. Like even this panel that we have together right now, you know, everyone that's listening, the people on this panel put a lot of work in for a lot of years. So they know this business comes up and out, and it's not for everybody. So, you know, tough times don't last, but tough people do. But this is just one of those times where like the toughest out really going to be the ones that soar out this thing, but you got to really push and want to be here. Like it's difficult and it's not for everybody. And we'll see when we come out of Corona, like who made it and who didn't.
Who's really, yeah. Right. And a lot of young people
A lot of my
sorry.
friends that I know in the business are just being completely lazy, and I'm scared for them because I'm just like, how you taking this time, Kenya? You know, I'm like, how you taking this time not to think outside the box? Because if you don't come out of this with something, I'm praying for you. Both of you.
Mm.
Right.
What,
I
what this is
definitely
doing right now is, you know, it's teaching us how much fat is in our industry.
You gotta cut out.
Preach,
Cut out
James.
the fat.
Preach.
Like,
All right.
when you're able to
Hallelujah.
sit at home in your office and you're Zooming all day and you're getting stuff done, and you start to realize, okay, what are all the things that we do in our normal daily business pre-corona that we could cut out? You know what I mean? Like literally, I've lost weight because I don't have a lunch every day. I don't have cocktails every day after work. I don't have a dinner every day after work. So I'm losing weight, right? That's just an analogy for other things in your work life. Could be overhead, could be the amount of hours you're spending driving back and forth in LA traffic trying to get to lunch meetings when you can easily just pick up the phone or have a Zoom. So my habits are changing. So when I go back, I'm going to be more efficient. But the system is going to purge all the fat.
Well, I agree, and I think when the Spanish flu came in 19 and 20, it came into the 20s came out of that. In that period of time, that was the Roaring 20s, they called it.
The roaring, exactly.
Because people came out of that. I was reading something like people came out of that like, I don't know what tomorrow's gonna happen. So I'm gonna fucking party like I've never partied before, and like all these things sort of came up. So I really feel like I do think you have to be prepared. I'm curious, like Naturi and La and TJ, like the idea of like, how are you guys sort of like, are your agents calling you for like, is there a lot of virtual stuff? Like, how is it working? Because how do you schedule things? I have some movies set to go, and I have a movie with Gab set that we've took forever. We really want to do it, but she has a hold date on that. And I'm like, does that, if it pushes her past, like, how is that working? Like, how do you schedule, what you're gonna
do you wanna go first, or?
I mean, for me, as far as like the work that's been coming through, it's been a lot of voiceover work. There's a lot of animated series that are providing like voiceover work. So a lot of the auditions have been voiceover auditions. As far as any projects, I mean, everything's just on a hold with no date to start. So I just wanted to also speak on what Arande said, like even for those of us who have put so much time in the game, the next movie, we're still dealing with our own anxieties about what's going on. I could speak to my situation specifically outside of my producing business. I was on Power for 6 years, and then that came to an end. I did The Shy one season, and I'm not on a series right now. This is the first time in 7 years of my life that I haven't been on a television series. And it's like, okay,
he's my best friend, girl.
Yeah, before Tori
Shout
killed
out to Lakeisha. I'm sorry. My bad.
I forgive you. I forgive you. But it's the first time in my life that I'm not attached to a television series. And for me, that's a scary time. And that could really start fucking with me mentally. Like, okay, where do I go out of this quarantine? I don't have a home, so to speak, on someone's set or somebody's show. But that's when I always have to say, you know what, La, you got to bet on yourself. You've been here before. Before. You've always figured it out. You've always figured a way. And this is when, to speak to Arande's point, you start creating your own content. Or you hit Kenya and say, I'm gonna be on your line.
I'm available.
Together. You got to be proactive. So sitting in the space of woe is me, what happens now? I'm done with that. Now it's about getting creative, reaching out to people that coming up with ideas together, getting the phone out, getting yourself a light, setting this shit up, putting some
I got one too, girl.
and doing what you got to do. It's no fucking excuses now. So I don't want to hear that. No. I don't have this. I don't have that.
Can't.
No excuses now.
Is that your light?
La, is it okay if you pass me the baton now? Lala's running with it, grabbing the baton. Can you offer that question?
Oh, and then I'll
like
come
Lala said,
come up to you.
This is the time, right?
It's real.
For a person like me, I've had a multi-hyphenate career, and a lot of it is, in addition to acting and doing stuff with the camera, it's also doing events, doing all these other bullshit things that aren't part of the legacy plan, right? And taking all those things and
Power
removing
Confidential.
it. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Removing that stuff from my life, like you said, James, has given me such a clear level of focus. And now, I was on the phone with Michael B. Jordan last night, and I was like, ooh, Mike, I can't wait for you to see my body when I get out of this and take my shirt off. Because I'm about to, I can't wait for y'all to see my chest, bro. I can't wait for you to see my chest.
Were y'all on FaceTime
You
or
can
the
show us
phone?
right
Ain't no
now
pause,
if you
yo.
want.
Yo, Troy, don't you know
I'm so in touch with my manhood. Aranda, you're not gonna pause me. You're not gonna pause me. I've been in the gym crazy. I've been taking this time to study like crazy. And when I
The
come
gym
out of
is
this,
closed.
the savage mode that I'm coming with is on a different level. And you gotta take this time, like you said, this is the roaring 20s. When we come out of this, these are the new roaring 20s. And all the fat is gonna get cut, and it's time to do exactly what Kenya did. Kenya didn't write no parts for other niggas. Nigga wrote the part for himself. It's time for you to write parts for yourself.
That's exactly what.
Direct it yourself. Produce
So
yourself.
our team is reading this book right now. There's two books that we're in discussions on. One is the classic Who Moved My Cheese, and then the other one is called Anti-Fragile. But the concept around anti-fragile is one thing to come through crisis and be resilient. That means you lived through it, and you grew from it. Is another thing when you thrive in it, and so can you build your life, organization, whatever it is you want to apply it to, being able to build it so it's anti-fragile. And so, and to be honest with you, you guys are so on point. Like if people come out of this not better at something, just something.
True.
It's so much time and there's so many resources just to be able to learn some sort of extra skill into the toolbox is on you at that point. You can't point the finger or blame anybody if you don't come out of this with something.
I feel like to Kenya's question, I just want to jump in real quick. For me, I'm still, oddly, I haven't auditioned in months, but I'm currently, my show, I was on a spinoff. We got shut down, 2 episodes left of shooting. So for me, it felt like the rug was pulled right from under us in the middle of shooting something that is supposed to be coming out. But I'm, Yasmin knows I'm supposed to be putting myself on tape. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, are people still even auditioning? But the thing that I think I would also recommend for people and all the people who've been listening is maybe step away from the business a little bit. For me, I feel like, I stopped worrying, like Lala was saying, I was feeling anxiety. I stopped worrying about, oh, what's my next job? If power doesn't come back, what am I going to do? I started thinking about, other skills, like you said, Troy, to your point, other things that I could do, but also other ways that I could help others. Sometimes we forget we have all had a lot of success. We've already been in positions to financially become stable. How about, create, even like James or Rondé, get some mentoring program or holla at some young men or some young women who need a chance to learn from you. And this is the time, a lot of times we don't have time to mentor people, but I just want to encourage people to remember, it's not just the business that feeds our souls. We get so caught up, like Matt was saying, in this, the wheel. We forget that we can do other things. Like I'm cooking more, I don't know about James, you losing weight, I might be gaining weight, I don't know. I love to eat. But also giving back, doing, philanthropic work, making sure that you're encouraging other people. I just think there's other things other than music and TV and film. We think sometimes that this business is all that we have, and that's not true.
Paying attention to your family. Like I'm literally going, this is the first time this is not what you ever want to go through a divorce in, is a pandemic where you're like,
absolutely not.
But it is literally like when I'm with my kids, like it is from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep in a different way, because there's not nannies and all this type of stuff. I'm with them and it feels different than it's ever felt before.
You're so focused, right? Like really focused in on their development.
I'm focused, and I get to know them in a way I thought I knew them, but in a way I didn't know them. And I even, I wondered to that, Matt, like you and, TJ, you're kind of doing, but the idea of like podcast and, do you see that your numbers have changed, and is that a new?
I think, to speak to all the smoke, we just try to, realizing now that although we're not talking about sports, with sports being gone, sports has always been the one thing that's unified us through crisis. You know, you think back, it's always been something that brought us together. So with that not being here, I just had an idea. Let's start cranking out more, because we were shooting once a week, dropping Thursday, and, you know, we would block some of them, but for the most part, so I was just like, you know, let's step up our shooting. Let's shoot 2 times a week, shoot 2 or 3 shows a day, and just start feeding them content. So I think we started doing that. We went from putting out 1 show a day or 1 show a week to putting out almost 3. And although the numbers were good, we realized that we weren't letting each episode breathe as much, because we were giving you Chris Paul and then we were giving you John Wall 2 days later. You know what I mean? So you don't really get a chance to get all the way through. So what we're doing now is we're doing a little, so where we're staggering and we're going back to 2, and then eventually we'll go back for 1. So our numbers, our views and our impressions are still good, but our numbers aren't the same yet. But I think it's just because we were giving them so much. Now that we're starting to peel back, now our numbers are starting to rise again. So our numbers are doing good. And I just think we made it. It wasn't necessarily a mistake, because we knew our fans needed it. So we gave them more, but now we're going to pull back a little more and just let each episode marinate a little more. So our numbers will get back. But for the most part, like I said, people need content. They're starving for content. So you know, our numbers haven't suffered.
What Matt is saying is so beautiful, though, because what Matt is describing, he's soft piloting this, right? And all of us are able to soft pilot so many things. I've gone on live and tried different ideas, you know, shows that haven't really had the time to package and really fully flush out. You're now able to go live, go directly to your consumer, feel it out, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. I did a birthday party live last week that had over 200,000 viewers check it out, right? And then once I learned the infrastructure of how to make that work, I've created shows based around that I can launch into a pilot. So I think now nobody there's no judgment on things that you're putting out as it was before this. So it's a beautiful time to be creative, to put your ideas out there, to directly connect with people. And then you have all these amazing, brilliant creators, like the people that are on the phone right now. We never would have had the time,
the opportunity
to, get J
to do
Erving and Troy Carter, that type of time. So like this is a beautiful time to connect ideas and get it to people that never would have been able to put stuff in front of James Lopez and Kenya and Orande and Yasmin and Ryan Press before, you know?
Real quick, I think people, I see some comments and people are asking how to reach out to people. They don't know what to do. I got a simple answer for everyone listening, and this is just for our friends on the panel. Guys, for everyone asking the same question, everybody's home. No one's in a meeting. No one's hard to reach. Everybody is home.
Yaz was like, well, I was in a meeting just 30 minutes ago. So
they're on the couch with D-Nice. They are home. Reach out to them, find them, tweet them, Instagram. Like, they're all home. They're not hard, and you can reach them the best way you can find. Just, do it, jump out there. And this is the best time, as the term the young people say, this is the best time to shoot your shot. Somebody wants you to
just don't show up at the crib.
But what about the people? Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm still
some
working.
People gonna be like, "Oh, I know you home." That's the problem, because somebody's home. You gonna start showing up like, why you ain't answering your phone? Why you ain't DMing me back?
In the chat.
Like, you gotta be careful.
They're gonna be in your ring like this.
Oh, you home?
I'm looking for the hungry people. It makes me know you want to work.
I got to bounce, but I want to say thanks really for you guys for letting me do this. I really want to say
Kenya, you don't have nothing to do.
Kenya is connected with his family. He said that.
You gotta wash clothes, Kenya. You gotta wash clothes.
The last thing I want to say, honestly, I really like Terrence. You was playing around, but saying I really do think what you're saying is right. I really think, they used to have those gatherings the weekend. The Hudlin brothers did it in Laguna. I think they still do it ever. But this is the time when I really see more than ever. I just look at this call. We could put together just right now off of this. We could put together something with everybody and make it. I think this is a time we really need to depend on us. And I hate to bring that back to some, but like minorities and just people who have been on the outside. Now we have a chance to really sort of we can actually connect. And we really need to honestly make sure that we do it more. And we need to say that we, La reached out, and I've been wanting to work with her forever, and we talked, and I'm like, yo, we got to make this happen. And TJ, you live around the corner, you know what I'm saying? Like, Yaz, I see you. I feel like we really need to use this time. Matt, we got to talk about, we really need to use this time right now to come together. And the criticism that people talked about with Black F, I told you, I was like, I think it was good. It was good whether it was good or bad. What I would say that we need to look out for is we can criticize, and we should be critical of each other, but we also have to understand that we're all we got, and the idea of whether you want to criticize, which I appreciate, don't tear down. You know what I'm saying? Criticize because you want to push it forward, because ultimately you want my show to work, even if you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't like it, go do something better that you feel like you
exactly.
But if it works, it's more opportunity for you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what we have to learn to do more, and we have to come together more and be honest.
Kenya, we love your show. I'm gonna come to
and we appreciate you.
I'm gonna pull up around the corner.
Well,
actually, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We gotta do youngest. Did JL?
We got to.
No, sir. No, I'm not even kidding.
JL hit me about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay.
See, this is what it does. Bring people together.
Hit me up. I don't have your number. I gotta talk. Yeah, please.
I will.
Kenya, I hope to meet you one day soon.
Oh, you too, Notori. I'm a huge fan.
Kenya, my
I'm
brother.
such a big fan. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well, look, thank everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Thank all of y'all for doing this. This is amazing. We'll let
Do
you
you
guys
wanna
get back
open
to
up
your
some-
families.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we wrapping
Troy,
up? Do you guys want to say anything?
Thank you guys for having me be a part of this. This was so helpful. And just like as we close it out, I just want to remind everyone out there who's watching and listening, like a saying that my mom always says, like, be gentle with yourself during this time. Like, this is uncertain times. It's scary times for all of us. There are days you have down days you have up days. Allow yourself to have those moments and those feelings. Do mental health check-ins and make sure, you're in a good place. And every day doesn't have to be the most creative day. Some days the creative content comes thinking about it. When you are spending time with your family, when you're sitting on the couch, not even thinking about work or anything, an idea can spark. So be gentle with yourselves during this time, because it is hard. It is uncertain. And we're all going through the same thing, and we are in this together. So I just want to send love to everybody who tuned in. Thank you for watching and allowing us.
I'll add one thing.
Hold on real quick. Yo, Suzy, can we?
Oh, hold on. I'm going to add one thing.
Some questions, though, because people want to really ask you questions.
Really quick.
Yeah, we might want to take some questions, but Yasmin wants to say something.
Wait, I want to just add something really quick on a positive note. For all the actors and the creators, the studios have not stopped buying material, right? Like, people are continuing to consume content. People are still buying. Like, when this era has passed, everyone is consuming television shows. So La, back to your point, like, you will get a job. Like, you're going to get the absolute best job, because people want to watch television. People are consuming television, and people are consuming movies. Now, the question is going to be, how do we film those projects? So just back to your point, like guerrilla style, people are looking at how to film a movie with 1 or 2 locations, with a crew of 15 people or 40 people. So I don't want you like this, like, when this time passes, it is definitely going to make the weak, hopefully the strong, stronger in this moment, but content is still being consumed and people are still buying. Like, any writer that you talk to right now, I guarantee is signing an overall deal or a first look deal at some studio or some network, because that's what studios are investing in. So I would just take that as a bit of hope. Like, the entertainment business has not stopped. It has only gotten busier for writers. It's just actors now, for once, are like sitting down and like, it's the hurry up and wait, but now it's at home. So just be prepared. And I will tell everyone, if you're watching a movie and you see a director that you love, reach out to your team and try to write that director a note, read books, option material. But like, to Arande's point, everyone is at home. Every director I call, like, they're taking Skype meetings, Zooms. And so really think about how to create in this time and how to tell people that you enjoy their work. Like, I guarantee everyone on this call reached out to Kenya, and now everyone can have a relationship with Kenya by just saying, great job on your show. So I would like for everyone to do, because back to Arande's point, everyone's at home.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. This was
Well,
really
thank you so
very
much. Thank you,
Victoria, great job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank y'all for having us.
We have to do this more.
Thank y'all.
Everybody.
And if anybody, I mean, keep in touch, follow people on Instagram. Remember, like Yasmin said, like Lala said, we are still connected. this is not the end. Like, people are acting like, I mean, I know coronavirus and this whole thing is scary, but trust me, it will pass, and then you'll get a new start. Our careers, our lives, our families. It's actually, I think, a renewal, and we may be being reborn as artists and as creators. So if you look at it from that perspective, it actually is an opportunity to really, you know, go forth and be great. So stay encouraged. If anybody has any questions, I don't know if you guys want to take some Q&A for a few minutes. It's up to you, whoever wants to stay. Yeah, whoever wants to hop on. If people have to hop off, feel free.
I got to take Cayenne to get some shots up. I got a basketball player on my hands. But I love you guys.
Yes. Love you, girl.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye,
girl.
Once
So
again,
we can take some questions. Go ahead, Sue. Who's speaking?
Maria, all here. It's all good.
Hey, Maria.
I have a couple questions prepped here, and just a reminder for everyone that's listening. First of all, thank you so much for participating. And I'm posting in the chat right now the Slack group that you can join, 1,000+ person community of people looking to network and just be in community with each other still. First question comes from Elise D. Even though there are differences between pitching a TV show and a feature film, what are the main components of a great pitch?
Great question.
James Lopez.
James, you want to take that? Or,
Sure.
you know?
James, let them know how many pictures and TV shows and movies I sold to you.
I'm actually taking notes myself, so I can. Now go ahead.
I mean, you know, the elements of a great pitch is you know, just strong story structure, great character, a clear first act, second act, and third act, and you know, a sense of knowing where it fits in the marketplace, and also having a strong sense of who you're pitching to. So, for example, when we take out a project, and you know, our deals at Universal, but not everything may fit within their system. A big part of pitching is knowing who you're pitching to and what they're looking for and what their niche is in terms of their mandate and the types of projects that they put out. So you wouldn't take a Marvel movie to the OWN network, right? I mean, that's an extreme example, but a lot of times I'll hear a pitch that is so far out of the realm of what we would even consider that it makes me feel sometimes like the person who's pitching didn't do their research into who they were pitching to. So when we have a project and we're strategizing, and we literally had a Zoom call today about an independent project we're going to do. And we're discussing and strategizing with the team, where are we taking this? Are we taking it to financiers? Are we taking it to distributors? Are we going straight into a studio? We want to put this project together in a different way, and we have to do the research. We have to educate ourselves on what everyone around town is looking for and what the hole in their slot is. So sometimes before I pick up a call and call the president or chairman of a studio, I look through the slate that if it's published, if I can find it somewhere on Studio System, or I look through press clippings and I see what kind of projects they have in development and on their slate. And if I see that they have something very similar to what I'm taking out, I'm not going to them because they just bought something like that in the last year. So it's about educating yourself that's number one. Number two is coming in there and having confidence in what you're pitching. Like a lot of hemming and hawing, and I haven't really thought this part out yet, but just ride with me on it. Like, I want to hear when somebody comes in, they have to act out this script for me. They have to act out the story. I need to visualize what they're pitching, and I need to see that they're confident and they believe in what they're saying. And some of the best pitches that I've ever heard were literally acted out in a room for me. Like, they had the characters down, they set the tone, they had the second act and the third act, you know, they had the act breaks. They were brilliant. And those are the pitches that stick with you. Now, there have been times where the actual in-person pitch wasn't great, but then I got a document that sucked me in. So not everyone is a great, pitcher in the room. But that just helps the process. So I think those are the elements of a great pitch. It's confidence, knowing what you're going into and knowing what I'm looking for, number one, and the story structure and strong characters And also sometimes people very adept to pitching in a room will tell you from a marketing standpoint where it fits in the marketplace and how even to market that project. Like that's another level to the art form of pitching, is knowing what the marketing will be behind what you're trying to sell.
It's a great question. Thank you, James. We have another question, Maria.
Sure do. We'll probably do one more just out of respect of everyone's time, of course. But once again, thank you all of you for participating in this and being part of this. We have one question. It's for the actors in the group. I guess everyone actually is a good one for this, but how do you balance keeping your artistic integrity while also trying to achieve some commercial success? Also, any book recommendations?
Any who recommendations? I missed that one.
It's okay. The question was, how do you balance keeping your artistic integrity while also trying to achieve commercial success? And then the second part was book recommendations.
I can jump in on that one. So first and foremost, a book that I'm reading that I think is brilliant is called The Law of Divine Compensation. It talks about just your mind state and how you have to have a positive mind state going into anything. So that's a really great book to read. As far as keeping your credibility and keeping your artistic integrity, I just think it's project by project. It's making sure that you're not compromising your values. It's going after things that you're passionate about. My fundamental philosophy for everything that I've done is just making sure that I'm passionate about the project, making sure that if it's a script, it's something that I love. If I'm going to host a TV show, I want to like the content and like the people that I'm working with, and just, always being true to yourself.
I'll jump in real quick.
That's so good.
I'll make it easy because I look for talent, I represent talent, and I want special people. Just be good. Like, don't think it's for you. Like, study some of the greats, research what you want to do. There's an amazing book by Ivana Chubbuck called The Power of the Actor. Do your research.
Love that book.
It's a great book. Do your research. Understand what this thing is. Like, this is a sport. Be the best at it. When you're on scene, understand that you're going against the Notori Nortons, the Lalas, the Terrence Jays, and you got to step your game up. This is just not, I'm just here to do this. So take it seriously. That's a great book. But be honest, because it's not just me. You got to run through great writers like Chad Sanders, Van Lathan, a production company like Genius Productions with Marseille Martin. They're looking for great people because their names are on the line. So you got to make sure that you're good and you're able to, be in this chess match with other great actors. So make sure you just take this work seriously. Study, because it's a test. Because once you lights, people get scared under those lights, and those lights are a pressure. So you have to be able to, endure and make sure that, you qualify for whatever's out there. So that was my thing.
And I would just add really quick.
Rejection.
What do you say, Troy?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, no,
how do we manage?
How do you manage rejection? Like, so where
I'll speak to that.
You guys, going out the pitch, because I think just being able to give people who are listening right now the ability to bounce back from no, because everybody here has had successful projects, but you also, I'm sure, have projects that you might have pitched that didn't get made, or roles you might have gone out for that you didn't get. Like, just what's the process of getting through that?
I feel like for me, I'll just say, because as an actor, a lot of times we're pitching ourselves. I mean, you're playing a character, but I go into any room knowing that confidence, one, which is something James mentioned, is so important. If I come into a room, i.e. to play Tasha, if I don't go in with that badass, I'm the one, like, you better recognize, if you don't know, you better ask somebody, I may not get it. If I'm like, well, I might be ghost wife, I don't know, no, people, you have to know that really within your conviction and your spirit that, this is what you were born to do. Because I'm not a singer and an actress because I just fell into it. And I literally knew this is what I was born to do. Like, your personality, like Terrence, that you can sit and talk to anybody in any room. And, as producers and James and J Erving and Troy, you guys know this is something that you naturally are good at. So the first thing I would tell people, be honest with yourself and your gift. Do not be delusional or create this idea about yourself and your gift that is not true. That is like first and foremost. And then for me, I try to just stick to the foundation of who I am. So to Maria's question about how do you really weed out all the bullshit, you know, it's really like, okay, does this match my brand? Does this match my spirit? Does this match my integrity? Is this going to make sense, you know, to the characters? Am I creating versatility, or am I typecasting myself? You know, a lot of times we just go after the same kind of stuff because it works. And because something works, a lot of times it can be a trap. So I encourage all the young creators, young writers, young actors, whatever you want to do, just remember that you don't have to do the same thing every single time. There can be a project that, you know, we haven't tried that, or we haven't pitched anything or accepted anything or written anything like that. So remember to keep your mind open and maintain your integrity. That's what
I agree with everything that Tori said. You know, as I'm looking at the posters behind James Lopez, you know, I was blessed to be in 2 of those movies. But for those 2 movies that I'm in, there might be 8 movies behind him that I wasn't right for, right? There might be 10 movies that I
real with yourself.
that I don't get, right? When Yasmin Pearl is my agent, she'll tell you, I audition all the time, still to this day. I go out for things all the time, and I always put in the work. And what my mentality is always, what's meant for me is meant for me, and it can never be taken away. And the right role, when it finds you, it's gonna find you. And you don't need 100 right roles. All you need is the one right role. All you need is the Tasha role, and that's going to carry. All you need is those one right roles.
It can change your whole life.
That will change your life, right? And so I've had multiple life-changing jobs, and then as soon as you get one life-changing job, you got to start looking for the next life-changing job, right? And so it's staying hungry. It's staying motivated. It's surrounding yourself and using the influence of other people to continue to motivate you. When Ryan Press got the president job, that motivated me. I was like, oh shit, all right, we out here, we doing president level.
We doing big things.
That motivated us for real. He had 2 refrigerators in the
he's doing big boy business. When I saw the Q&A announcement go up, when I saw what you and J Erving were doing, it motivated me, right? So you got to draw your motivation from everything that's out there in the universe. And when people tell you no, look, I am down to be told no 100 times. All I need is one yes out of that 100, and I know it's going to take me to, through the next chapter of my life, and it's going to be there for me. So don't ever let the word no, deter you from your goals.
Rejection is part of the job.
I think with everybody, this is the last point, I think with people who want to get into this business, and, Ryan, Jay, Troy, this is like, when we represent talent, and the Tori and Terrence, this is no new information for you. One, get some real people around you. Like, you don't want any yes people around you. Get some real people around you. Because the jobs that we signed up for, me, Ryan, Jay, Troy, our job is to give you more bad news than it is to give you good news. Like, we have to let you know, like, no, you weren't good. No, this isn't good. No, this person doesn't like you. No, you're too handsome. No, they think you ugly. No, they think you suck. Like, you'll get more bad news in this business than you will get good news. So you have to prepare for that and put the people around you, because not only is your name on it, our names are on it as well. And we want the best for you. But be prepared for rejection, because it's going to come hard and nasty and in your face. And it's going to be a hard conversation to have to you. So just understand.
And lastly, just to piggyback, be prepared for the same people that rejected you 10 years ago to be your biggest fans 10 years later. Don't get it twisted. The same people that told me, because I had some rejection. I was in a girl group. I got kicked out of girl group. Y'all may know. But I'm just saying, the same people that say, you're not pretty enough, or you're not talented enough, or I don't think you really got it. I'm just saying, don't be surprised when those same people are at your shows or in your office or calling your phone or DMing you like, yo, I see what you're doing, man. You're doing big things. So I was always doing big things. You just didn't see it. So you also have to recognize who your rejection comes from.
That's what Troy and Jay was doing me in Philly back in the day when I was trying to get on.
Oh, that's how they was trying to shade you. See, they didn't know.
I would add really quick to that point. Don't look for people to validate you. Like people, everyone is only a person, and everyone had to start somewhere. I think everyone's been on, everyone who's on this Zoom, we've all started somewhere and we've all gone a long way, and everyone
still working
on this phone. No, right? So no can only make you stronger, make you more aware, make you hungrier. But look at why, if you went into an audition and maybe you didn't get that role, like just sharpen up how to be better, right? But don't give people too much power. Like when you go into it with a casting director's boss is the producer. So they're telling them no. Like people are just looking to get the best role, the best person in that role. So you can't put too much, don't put too much on people, because we're all here and we're all doing our best.
I tell everybody that I know that goes to audition, if it's good or bad, just be memorable. That's all you want.
If it's your all, like everything, like I think when you go into an audition.
Right, Troy? Like just be memorable. Like, yo, he wasn't good, but.
There's some gems on this panel, by the way. I swear to you. It is some gems on this panel. Like just some of the, like, y'all drop some things, man. Seriously.
It's been pretty dope. Suzy wants to say something really quick.
Yes, I've just been sitting and listening because Troy, you're right. There's just been so many gems, like flood of thoughts in my brain. Like even going back to, watching film and television when I was in elementary school as a new immigrant to the United States. Like that's what enabled me to learn about culture and really like see and identify myself and learn how to communicate in America. And so like, thank you to all of you, because you were the ones putting in the work behind the scenes and making sure that, the diverse voices and diverse faces were seen on the screen. And it took 20 years. It really took 30 years. And like, I also, I'm reflecting because I think like, so like some of the younger people on the panel, like with less time and less decades of work experience, like I've been in the work experience for just over a decade. And, 10 years ago, we were in another recession and banks were failing. And, it really is similar to what it's like today. And I don't know if all of you know this or some of you know, but I actually started my career in film and TV and entertainment finance. And it was looking at film funds and TV slates and music publishing catalogs and estates and valuing them. And, because I studied finance, like that's, the immigrant mentality of going after the most successful thing, the financial analyst job, working on something I loved, entertainment and media, and that was what I went for. But I quickly realized that, I love looking at the models and analyzing the business results, but I didn't love like being behind a computer and making those. And when something clicks, that you would rather be with people than like making all of the financial models work to the T. Very much like saw that as an incredible failure at like the time when the economy was at the worst. And I remember feeling so devastated, but also having to like pick myself up and recognize that like life was going to move on. And if I was going to accomplish my dreams and passions, then I was going to have to figure something out. And lo and behold, 10 years passed, and I've career switched from digital media to technology to venture capital, and now like partnered up with Troy and Jay on music and technology. It's just wild what 10 years can do. And I'm sure now you're all thinking about like where you were 10 years ago, where you were 20.
Exactly.
So the only
10 years ago, I was in the music business.
Yeah.
10 years ago, so was I. It's so true.
Maybe that's like something that I'd like to just like depart the panel with as a feeling of like how do you reinvent yourself, and how do you think about the short, medium, and long term of like your goals and your dreams and your visions. And like Troy's favorite phrase, like thoughts become things. And how do we put that in every day during this time?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
A lot of people come up to me and ask like how I made the transition from music to being a music exec to film and television. And I always say, do the job you want to do in the future now before anybody pays you to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what that means is I put in years of study and reading scripts and breaking down film production and just studying the business from the day that I said this is what I want to do next until the first day I walked through the gates at Sony Pictures 10 years ago, took 6 years. It took me 6 years of just like living in my cocoon and reading scripts and breaking them down and doing development and teaching myself the business, reading books on the film business and obviously utilizing the resources that I had at a record label to get closer to the film business. So I started doing, started being involved in soundtracks and started producing music videos and spending a lot of time on sets of music videos and helping commission those and just having discussions with directors and wanting to create. And the entire time I was doing that, I didn't know I was producing. That's exactly what I was doing. And what came along with that was also just studying what you aspire to be. Like, don't sit around, like, this is for everyone listening, don't sit around waiting for the opportunity to come to you. Like, opportunity is not going to walk up to your door and go, I'm here. Like, you have to put in the work. And, I would come home at night and on weekends and I would read scripts after working 12, 14 hours at the record label. And I'm reading scripts at night. And the reason I was doing that was I was preparing myself and kind of visualizing what I wanted to be in the future. And it worked out for me. Luckily I ran into a couple of people that believed in me, but I proved them right in that belief. I was prepared. I prepared myself. So that's my advice is like, do the job you aspire to do later on in life now when nobody's paying you to do it.
So,
That's on that note, I feel like everything was said. Jay, you want to say
That's
something?
drop the mic right there.
I mean, that is like somebody said in the comments, bars. I mean, James Lopez dropping bars. Speaking of bars, can we all just give one word, whatever word is on your spirit, one word to whoever's listening, any sentence, a word just to leave us with. Any thoughts? James, you go first. One word that you can think you want to just put out in the universe.
It's more than one word. It's we gonna be all right.
A sentence.
The words
we
of
gonna be all right.
Kendrick Lamar. We gonna be all right. Folks.
We gonna be all right. Okay, sentence. Yasmin, sentence.
I mean, we gonna be all right. I have to say that as well, but I would say stay curious.
Ooh, stay curious. Love that one. Ryan, what you got? One sentence, one thought.
I'm going with how James ended it. Do the job you want to do in the future for free now. I'm going to roll with that one, man. That was powerful.
Love that. Do the job you want to do for free. Troy, what you got?
I just want to say I'm inspired. Super inspired. Yeah.
Super inspired. Arande? Pray. Ooh, that's good. Jay?
I'm gonna see hustle. All I want to do is hustle and motivate.
Ooh, that's good. Terrence, what you got, Terrence?
You busy after this, Notori? I want to go live let's go live right after this. Let's keep this going. And everybody else, James Lopez, Troy,
That
Ryan,
is not a sentence.
I want to do IG lives with all of you this week. So I'm gonna be reaching
No, we
out
can
to
make
you
that
guys.
happen.
So let's get I want to like
Your rep is my rep.
Hit me up.
All right, so I want to go live all week.
Suzy?
All right.
Suzy, one thought.
Yeah, I think mine would be vision.
Vision. Love that. Did everybody give a word or a thought? Mine would be encourage others. Yeah. And Maria, you want to give us a word or a thought?
This is one that's been on my tongue. Greatness is a conscious choice.
Ooh.
Okay.
See, Maria came through.
Right.
I mean, with the ultimate bars. Thank you guys so much. It was an honor. I think everybody feels a lot more invigorated. The comments have been coming in. People, greatness is a conscious choice. Ooh, that was good. I'm gonna have to write that down. But this is what this is all about. I just want to say to Jay, Troy, Suzy, I mean, you guys, Ryan, putting this together, this Q&A, the panel, it has made me feel more invigorated about this. This process is challenging. So we actually are supporting each other through things like this. So I think if we keep it going, thank you to everybody who came on, Arande, Yasmin, James, Well, Matt left, Lala, who else was on here? Everybody, I mean, this has been really, really fun. I thank you guys so much, and I can't wait to do this again.
You killed it.
Casting live. Casting live. I'm putting that in the air. We're doing quarantine casting.
Quarantine casting. I'll be a judge, Rondé. Call me.
I'm auditioning, Rondé. I'm gonna hit you. I'm auditioning.
I'm gonna start tape, man, and send that through. Yeah,
I might need to
send that through, man.
Done. You too, James. All right, y'all. Love y'all.
Appreciate y'all.
Peace,
Love
everyone.
you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Peace.